chapter in this Jamie Lidell meets UAD takeover. I suppose we really ought to celebrate Bob Moog a bit more. In my first stream I was really just going over all of this. People who didn't come to the first one, actually let me just turn off, I hear a slight effect on the vocal, there you go. People who didn't join the first one, hello. I'll run you through a little bit of what's going on over here. Let's switch over. You got this is an overview of one of the worlds. This is a deeper world view. What I've got set up is basically a bit of a spillover, if you will, of a setup that I was using for a recent Hanging Out with Audiophiles video nitty gritty. Some people might know that I run a podcast called Hanging Out with Audiophiles. I've been doing that for a long time now, well over 2.5 years. God, it's getting on a bit. Had almost 70 guests now. It's a bi-weekly thing. And yeah, so basically, let me show you what I'm talking about here. I essentially made a clip where I was demonstrating how to sing into the modular using this machine predominantly. It's called an ER301. It's really a machine for all kinds of processing. It particularly excels at granular processing, I think. It does many things, but granular processing in a modular is a really welcome thing, because obviously you can do it very well in a computer, but it's quite a lovely thing to be away from the screen and just be hands-on and try and play this stuff as much as possible. So yeah, what I have here is a grain sampler for my voice, a bunch of other effects and ways to record that sound. There's another looper. Oh, actually, let's plug this thing in here. Something is unplugged. I have to charge up the cameras between sessions. This is all very new to me. Thanks for joining these streams. These are the first times I've ever done these streams, so it's a good rush. It really is a good rush. Actually, I should hit preemptively. I should hit record, because I didn't do that last time. I'm going to hit record. Why not? There you go. I was about to play some jazz on you. We're not ready for jazz. Okay, enough talk. I shall make some sounds, because really I wanted to come up with a setup that would have some kind of good visual appeal and also hopefully create some questions. Now, in the last chat we had, the kind folks at UA were sending me text messages, so do question me, and I will get back to you when I look at this guy, which will be, often. So yeah, here we go. I'll plonk that in a place where I can see it. Here we go. I will make a sound using this grain sampler. I'm frozen. I'm somewhat frozen. Now, what you're hearing here is a solitary grain coming out of this machine. You see, remember this one from the video clip? That's it there, I'm pointing at it now. The ER301. It's doing all of the heavy lifting, if you will, but it's being controlled. See the machine in the middle there? That's basically the same setup that I'm using right now. It's just a convenient close-up shot. So I can add to that a second grain. You hear how that is transposed. Kind of interesting actually, I'm not quite sure why it's transposed. Ah, that's why it's transposed. See, this was my original idea. I thought, how cool would it be if you could sing a note and it starts out, obviously, the note, the monophonic, the usual vocal, but then as you pull a crossfade, essentially that held frozen note would spread out to make a chord. So let's try that again. I just realised that was set up, so we can try it. So let me sing a new sound. I can use this slider to sort of scan around the sample. I'll pull up the second grain, third. Now all 3 grains are going, but because on the left side of this slider, you can't really see it to be honest, but there's a slider here, and when it's on the left hand side, everything's tuned together. When I move it to the right, there they go, they're moving up in space. Now when we have this, we can record it all into this looper. Now I've slowed down the loop recording of everything that we just had there. Kind of accidentally, I'll be honest. But that's what happens when you're in a system like this. I can unlink the 2 sides of the recording. One side can go fast, one side can go slow. I can just record into one side now. And reset that. Yeah, we were off again. Let's add some other tones to that. console comes into this mixer. I'm capable of adding AMS to the whole thing, which would be nice. Let's make it a bit hot. Whole thing. There you go. Bit of biphase. Wow, that's hot. Nice. Boom, 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 boom. So we've got these frozen sounds. Now what's nice about this setup is I've a way to essentially record everything. Cables are actually a nightmare. But you can take the output of the whole system and re-record it back through into a box over here. It's called the Bitbox by 1010 Music. I can record just a snippet of this now. And now I should be able to hear that as a keyboard. So I should be able to stop this sound. Nah, but I'm not being able to. Not getting it, which is a shame. I don't think I'm getting any MIDI right now for some reason. Yeah, should be good. Try turning it off. There it is. Sometimes the MIDI on this old Mellotron is pretty poor. So now that's a sample of the entire thing that we took. That's the crossfade. The crossfades between one side and the other. You can make this a whole thing now. Now the output of the Bitbox comes over here, and it's also on its own channels. So we can. Oh, I'm really having a hard time with the cable right now. Ugh. Come on, cable. This is obviously the hardest part of any studio. Is dealing with the cables. So I'm going to put a little bit more effects on that sound. Here we go. As it says here, one more sound, baby. Yeah, na na na. I think it's time to answer some questions. We will. I've got all kinds of effects. I'll just leave those on. And leave those on my voice. So here we go. Question. How are you managing latency? All that MIDI can be a latency nightmare. Well, you're right. The setup is quite weird in a way, convoluted. But I'm using the Sequentix Circlon, which some of you may be aware of, made popular by artists, unknown artists like Aphex Twin and others. But it's a really great MIDI device. It can do more than that. It can do CV and gates and all kinds of good stuff now. But it's kind of known, I suppose, for its crazy MIDI abilities. So everything is going into that. I'm playing the little bit box from the MIDI output of the Mellotron. MIDI output of the Mellotron goes in to the Circlon, which is this guy here. See that one? And then from the Circlon, it's routed to the bitbox. And that's nice because it means I can switch between what this MIDI output is doing. At the moment, that's the bitbox output, right? If I switch to another one, that's actually a mini Moog, I apologise, I never get it right, inside this unknown application. Yep, you guessed it, the Luna. Look, oh, where is it? It doesn't show the signal for some reason, but it's you can see these little MIDI notes being added on the Moog 1 copy. I can play a little sequence with these sounds. These are all sounds from the Moog. Let's open it up and see what's going on in there. They're actually coming in over right here on the console. There you go. Some of them are, some of them aren't. There you go. So this is one sound. I can bring in other sounds. Okay, back to this cam. So basically, I can mute that little sequence. I can record into something else. There's a little bass track, right? Make a new pattern. And I need a click now, so I don't know where I am. Where's my mouse? Streaming crazies. Okay, here we go. Coming over. Mouse, where are you? Okay, here you go. Click. Recording just into the Circlon basically. Do this record over in this pattern as well. It's kind of out of time, isn't it? That's because it's actually running free right now, this sequencer. It's not actually clocked. But we'll have to sort of... This is kind of fun in its own way, isn't it? It can be clocked. That's all pretty nerdy stuff. Maybe we should clock it. I'll show you what I mean. There's a little thing inside Luna. This is all very nerdy stuff. Here we go. This is the realness, I suppose. Up here, on this first track up here, well, I really do sound... Let me just get that 80s off me. Less 80s. Up here on the top track here is a clock sample. Actually, if you zoom right in, it's just these individual blips. And those little blips are used, you might be able to see it on this camera. Oh, but now I have to show you on the camera again. This is the one switch I really need on this program, to be able to show you. Okay, so are you going to be able to see it? I'm not sure. It's over here. You can't quite see it. I can move the camera a bit. Can I? Famous last words. Yeah, there you go. This guy is what they call an Acme. It's a MIDI clock basically, but it takes its cue from audio pulses. So that's nice and solid. And theoretically, if we now go over and press play on the... where's my mouse? Thank God for that thing where the mouse gets big when you scrub it side to side. I really cannot find it. There it goes. Yes, okay, good. So if I play now, it's going to... My only issue is I've got all of these tracks here that I've just recorded, and I don't want to get rid of them all. It's going to move them all over. Hang on. It's going to get all these tracks. Yeah. Save it as something else maybe. I'll just write over it. This is the joy. I have a quite convoluted setup, I won't lie. It's been quite a mission to get all of this stuff working together. Plus I've never done streams, so there's so many things. The streamers make it look so easy. Alright, here we go. Now, from the beginning of the loop, now this should stay in time. Feels better. Because basically Luna is telling the circle on to play and when. So if I slow down the session in Luna, which is handy, you know, and then I can bring in beats. That beat. And we can sequence that little sound that we made on the bitbox. Remember that? This guy. There it is. It's just very short. There's a 4-bar pattern. much longer pattern actually. We'll just keep playing. And what's nice about the bitbox is it's going into a delay, which I can record the effects of it. That now is going to be recorded and repeated, which is quite nice. And then I can change the start point of the whole sample. Nice, simple, beautiful. The Nagra is rewinding. Okay, I feel like it must be question time. Okay, where are the drums coming from? Well, yeah, those are sort of some drums that I had prepared earlier. Just because I noticed I was doing a lot of this looping and making these kind of really crazy stretched out vocal textures and stuff the other day. And I thought, I might as well just throw a beat on there, see what happens. And I was super into it. I just picked a few loops that were on the drive that I just liked the sound of. And man, it makes a difference. It really does. Are there any more questions? Are there any more questions? Are there any more questions? This is quite a nice feature of the grain sampler. Let's do a little bit more graining. Now it's really very much frozen in its initial state. I can move through the start points like this. That's moving through 3 individual start points. That's 3, 2, 1. And this wing will automate that movement. Now obviously it's just very much static, but I can use a keyboard and play it like they don't very much play me, very much play me, very much play me, yeah. Something to the noise. I can add some noise to the filter. Sorry, look, check this out. Let's record some of that into the main loop. Here it is. That's just a recording of the recording, if you like. Basically, the looper is catching the output of that granular synth. Seems quite short, doesn't seem long enough, so I'll erase that and start again. I have the ability, by the way, in this thing to stop it, and using this little button over here, play little snippets of it. Let's record that. Now the whole output of this looper also goes into more effects. So we can just like wash this out. Now I'm free to essentially remove that recording of the grains that I made. I'm actually going to do that in a different way by completely erasing the buffer that was recorded onto. I'm going to add some effects to the whole mix. Let's get a bit more trippy. It's time for a bit of Nagra, you know. Always in these moments, I'm feeling like a bit of transition needed. Slow it down. Happy birthday, Bob. I know it's a bit late now, but where would we be without Mr. Moog? Back to playing that sound. Okay, I could go on, I could go on, I could go on. I do regularly go on. I just feel like Okay, someone asked. Thank you for your questions, by the way. Do keep them coming. Now, what happened here? I'm trapped. There you go. Oh, what are all these effects? Oh, there's a prime time. I'm going to have to get into this prime time right here. Listen to this thing. Oh, 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 la, 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 na, 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 la, 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 la. La 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 chill that AMS out a little bit. Just doing pitch shifting over the whole thing. do I have advice for up-and-coming musicians in the time where touring is ill-advised? Oh, the chair. Touring is ill-advised. It most certainly is ill-advised. Learn your craft. This is the time where you hunker down and learn what it is that makes you you. Maybe that's too hippied out, but I think that's actually true. You have a chance, possibly. I mean, I'm not guaranteeing it, but maybe in this time of quarantine, you can find a moment to think. That would be good. Thinking is good. And experiment. Obviously, that's all assuming there's enough money to do that. But sometimes, I don't know, I've been in periods in my life when there's been no money and I've just had to hold it down and live on nothing and just do it. And when you do it, you feel pretty fulfilled in some way because you're heading somewhere that's going to take you to another place. And it won't always be this way. I mean, it's hard to imagine. I say that with confidence, not really knowing whether that's true. But let's assume it won't always be that way, this way. What's my most valued piece of gear for making these crazies? I really love it. It makes me want to make all the noise. Wow, that's awesome. Oh man, yeah, loopers, I would say. As many of you know, I've done a lot of looping in my time. Loopers are incredibly wonderful for making crazy shit. Because obviously you've got the layers, then you've got the repitching half the time. Just that alone will get you to a place of joy. And what more do you need than a few layers kind of rocking on top of one another? And then some filters maybe. A filter and a looper. And maybe one more delay. That would be good. You could do an awful lot with that. This chair, I don't know, I'm saying a lot of people are asking about this chair. This chair I got from Vintage King. It's okay. It's definitely kind of low, which is, you know, has pros and cons. It's really hot in here, by the way. Yes, I live in Nashville. It's already got bloody hot. And to save you from hearing, I mean, obviously there's so much noise going on in this kind of sound anyway. I mean, the fact that I'm not using the AC is pretty redundant, really. But yeah, it gets hot, and I don't know. Did I answer that question? A question about a chair. Oh, someone asked how I ended up in Nashville. Well, I lived in New York, and my wife and I were thinking, let's get a house. And then we looked around and we said, let's not do that in New York, because we can't. So Nashville, about 10 years ago, was a lot more of an affordable landscape. It's getting more pricey by the day. It's a fun place, a great place to bring up a kid. Yeah, there you go. Any more questions? I don't see any questions coming in. Questions. Hit me with questions. I do like this sampling everything thing. Oh, here we go. Go to tape machine. Okay, go to tape machine. Tape machine in this case. Oh, a go-to. Yeah. Not go to it. But, you know, my go-to tape machine is, I might as well go to the tape machine. Oh, this is weird. Look, on this screen is another stream. I'm just glitching you. I'm just glitching you. Time travel. Okay, so this machine is the Nagra. And someone's asking where I found my Publison. I actually found that in Nashville. Unfortunately, it has seen better days. I couldn't get it repaired. Last time we tried to repair it here in Nashville, I'm having to send it to France. There's a guy over there in France that is essentially taking over the Publison factory in that world. So thankfully he'll be fixing it up. hopefully at some point. I'm getting a question from my good friend Vicente Sanfuentes. Hi Vicente, thanks for your question. The question is, how would you go about making melodic stroke harmonic electronic music with modulars and computers? Well, there's so much. Melodic music. Melodic music is really, I mean, what is melodic music? I suppose it does answer a lot of, I mean, it asks a lot to make regular music, I suppose, with a modular. Because really, it can be done, of course. Of course it can be done. I'm not sure if in this 5 seconds I could do that, but I mean, essentially, I could sequence that, right? I could sequence that, mute that, and just sequence some stuff here. That's recording a crazy long pattern. I'll just make a new instrument here, another bitbox thing, just with that, and then record. There we go. We're in the world of melodic music. I mean, ultimately, I feel like there's so much melodic potential. Oftentimes, I suppose what happens is you get into these short loops. It's one of the reasons I like the Circlon as a way to make music on a modular, is because it can do loops that extend beyond a simple 16-step phrase, and I think that it might be the key to you, Vicente, or my theory about this. Of course, loops of short phrases are very much melodic music, but if you can extend the phrasing somehow, you might get into some new territories. Maybe that's a angles. Can you talk about the studio room and who designed and built it? This was a room, we inherited this house, or we bought this house about 10 years ago, and yeah, this room was an old library, not an old library, it's relatively new, this construction. This part was added to the house recently, about 20 years ago. The old house is like 100 and something years old. But yeah, this is a modern addition. It was a library filled with books, and now I've filled it with machines. So it's now a sound library. And yeah, we got really lucky. As soon as I walked into this place and we were looking for a house, I was like, whoa, this place looks quite nice. Am I planning a next album? Love all your work. Thank you very much. Am I planning another album? I was for such a long time. And then I kind of quit for a bit. I don't know why. I get quite drawn into little miniature universes, I suppose. Some of those are not making albums, but I would like to make another album. I'll certainly do it. It won't be my last record, Building a Beginning. I'll make more. Uh-oh. Yeah, I think I lost battery on that one camera. So I'm going to talk to this one now. Thank you for telling me that went black. Yeah, the batteries are going to die eventually. So to what levels do you go in sound sampling and resampling? Do you dedicate days to sound making? Absolutely. And have done since the early days of working with Super Collider and stuff. Crucial thing. And I make a lot of sound packs. I've made several sound packs for Splice and for Native Instruments, and also for Bandcamp. Check this out. I've got to go pretty soon, but those of you who are not familiar, actually, that's not the link. I'm just going to try and quickly find my Bandcamp page for you. Oh, will I be able to find it? Probably not. Let me just type it in. You can also type it in, of course. But you can see it. I'll show it to you quickly before I have to go. I'm going to go in a couple of minutes. For those of you who are not aware, I do YouTube videos now on the Hanging Out with Audiophiles YouTube. There's all kinds of stuff. Go and grab this. It's a free bunch of samples. It's just Jamie Lidell Bandcamp. And this was a bunch of sounds that I made, very much using processes like you just seen today. And yeah, go and grab that. my Bandcamp, Jamie Lidell Bandcamp, and then yeah, there's also a new video I only released a few days ago, where I essentially use this whole system that you've been seeing today and explore it, singing into a modular synth, building music and explaining how the whole system works for those of you who might be further curious. But in the interest of preserving Universal Audio's stream-tastic takeover, I bid you farewell, everyone. Thank you for joining me on a nice sound ramble on this Tuesday afternoon. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, I'll see you around. Thanks, Universal Audio. Happy birthday, Bob Moog. I know it was a while ago. Your legend will never be forgotten. You will never be forgotten. That's what makes you a legend. Goodbye.